Over the past 50 years, Climatech has grown and kept pace with the ever-changing HVAC industry, providing our customers with the best knowledge on the most innovative systems and services.
Serving Lorain and western Cuyahoga counties, Climatech is a full-service heating, air conditioning, and ventilation company. A third-generation, family-owned and operated company providing the most up-to-date level of service and installation with the best quality products.
Today, your comfort demands customized solutions utilizing best industry practice combined with high-quality, reliable products that protect you and your home.
The HVAC industry will never stand still. It's a commitment to the environment that we learn, train, and produce next-level efficient products and services.
Partnering with Green Sky Financing and our dedicated customer care software allows us to give you the comfort that you need in your home.
Smart products, smart technicians, and dedication to details drive us to deliver highly effective products into your home today and into the future.
It is now week 15 of the Climatech Inc. NFL Prediction Show, and we are powering through this week. Vince has been under the weather. He's been sick, and again, you're going to see him trying to get through this episode, but again, being a trooper to get through this. Again, I'm not feeling the best today myself either. Thankfully, I'm not sick to the point of Vince, just a headache here, but we are going to, like I said, power through this show. Just like we're powering through after a rough last week for both of us when it comes to our picks. I went 6 for 9 and you were 4 for 11. I now hold a 2-game lead, but what a rough week for us. Vince, good to be with you in what's going to be a shorter episode.
I did not see an ounce of football on Sunday, with the exception of the Browns game. Spent the day in bed. So last night, again, didn't watch either game, was in bed the entire time. Woke up this morning, looked at my picks, looked at last night's 2 games, and yeah, buddy. So definitely ready to put this one in the rearview mirror. A lot of games this week to talk about. I was so tempted, and me and Cole, as we always say, we talk constantly with each other. And, the one thing I always said last week is I really wanted to pick the Jets. I don't know why. The Jets suck. But I had this strange feeling that Houston was in for a stumbling block. And then when both their guys got hurt, both Nico Collins and obviously CJ Stroud, that changed everything for them. So actually have a little thing on them later. But anyways, regardless of all that, excited to be here. We're both young men in the prime of our lives. We're fine. Let's have some fun.
Yeah, I think I was honestly unaware of what our records were last week until about maybe 30 minutes before the show actually happened. Just because I knew I took a 2-game advantage. You made me well aware of that over the weekend. And aside from that, I didn't really run through games. I didn't really make all my picks. I obviously had picked 2 games because of being a guest on Brandon's new show, Bet. But I hadn't gone through all my picks yet, hadn't written it down. I hadn't actually put together the records yet until after I had dinner tonight, got home, like I said, got some medicine to try to get rid of this nagging headache. And I'm not a nap person, but I went to sleep for, a good 30, 40 minutes. And then I put my picks together right before we got on here. So I am literally fresh off of running through these things. So let's get this going. To Thursday Night Football we go.
Wait. Did you realize I just said we're both young men in the prime of our lives and now we've both admitted to taking naps? I just think it's hilarious. But yeah, Thursday Night Football it is.
Well, we might as well move on to that because I think people should take naps during this game and probably not actually watch it. The Chargers and the Raiders, a no good kind of game. Justin Herbert's out for the season. So Easton Stick is now the guy at quarterback. Stick's not very good. The Raiders, they're not very good. They put up 0 points against the Minnesota Vikings. And that was one of the games that you and I had differing opinions on. And I went with the Vikings. So it panned out for me. But it was a game that I'm glad I didn't have to watch that one. I didn't see an ounce of it. And I am happy I didn't because it has to be one of the worst games this entire season, if not the very worst.
Wasn't it 3-0? They lost 3-0 to the Vikings.
3-0. 3-0. And One thing I did say when I did my parlay on the podcast with Brandon is that one of my 5 legs was that the Chargers, they're going to score more than 15.5 points. And I still truly believe that. I think that's set very, very low because of Herbert being out. And even when they had Herbert, they scored 6 points against the Patriots. So I do think the Chargers put up more points than that. I just think they're so bad. And even though the Raiders are the favorite in this game at home, the Chargers actually are a team where I think they need to get this one done for the sole fact of they've continued to fall and slide. And I just think they're going to, strangely enough. I have the Chargers winning a bad game, a low-scoring defensive game, 17-13 over Las Vegas.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the Chargers do not play well on Thursday nights historically. Looking back to all the times they lost to Kansas City on a Thursday night, and actually the Raiders as well over the years. That being said, too, I remember a Christmas Eve game a couple years ago where they lost to the Raiders. All that being said, my problem here is I don't know much about the backup quarterback. Easton Stick, I believe his name is, Speed Stick. So I don't really know much about this guy. I am a little concerned when it comes to the Raiders, and not so much with McConnell. For me, more so, I'm more concerned with Josh Jacobs. He's banged up, coming off a short week. I don't even know if he's going to play. Everything that I saw, I looked at a lot of things today. There was Josh Jacobs who was banged up, Nico Collins, and CJ Stroud. And again, I'm going to touch on all that as we go. But the Josh Jacobs one to me probably concerned me the most because I plan on picking the Raiders. I'm going to stick with it for the sole purpose that this is Easton Stick's first start of the season. And, McConnell's been behind center going on 7 weeks, I think it is,
Aiden
for
O'Connell.
the Raiders. What is it?
O'Connell.
Sorry, I keep saying McConnell, don't I?
Yes.
So, McKee, McDaniel, McConnell, it happens. O'Donnell it is. So, going to go ahead.
O'Connell.
O'Connell it is. My bad, guys. I'm playing hurt today. Going with the Raiders. Do not expect to win this game. Expect to head into Saturday 3 back. But definitely going to go with Las Vegas and not Oakland.
So you're going with Ronald McDonald at quarterback in the Las Vegas Raiders. So we are split already on Thursday night as I'm going Chargers and you're going Raiders. So we'll move on to Sunday Night Football. And this one's actually an interesting matchup as the Jacksonville Jaguars are hosting the Baltimore Ravens. And the Jaguars are a good football team, but the Browns really were dominant in that game. Should have won by even more than what they actually won by if it weren't for those couple fumbles that gave a short field to the Jags, and they came away with 14 points from those two. Aside from that, it was Browns all the way. I had the pleasure of being there, and it was a good game. It really was. That being said, the Jags, they're looking to bounce back. They're going up against a Ravens team that they're good defensively. They're leading in the AFC when it comes to records. Vince, you're wearing the purple shirt again here today. Are you going Baltimore?
I got a couple of them. I got a couple of purple shirts. I didn't even realize that until recently. Excuse me. The Ravens are a better team, so we're going to go with Baltimore. Jacksonville, I don't think is nearly as good as their record, but at the same time, I think they showed you, even with the banged up quarterback over the weekend, that Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. I mean, people won't probably sit on those 3 interceptions that he threw, but that guy's playing banged up, and I thought he played pretty well. You saw him in person. I was never a big Trevor Lawrence guy, excuse me, coming out of the draft, but I like what I've seen so far. The Ravens just appear to be really good this year. I don't know what it is about Baltimore. They keep winning games. They're not afraid to go on the road and win. I trust them, and I trust Jim Harbaugh in this big situation. The Ravens should win this game.
First of all, I feel like you're going to throw up on camera. It's happened a couple times. And then you said Jim Harbaugh, not John Harbaugh. So wrong Harbaugh, brother.
God.
For Baltimore.
John Harbaugh.
We're off to a really good night here so far in this one.
Thank you, Climate Tech. Thank you for your sponsorship.
Jim Harbaugh is going to lead those Baltimore Ravens, I'll tell you what. So maybe Connor Stallions will join him on the sideline to help Help let him know what Jacksonville is going to be calling. So we're getting all the wires crossed here tonight. I'm going to say that we're on different pages again here. I actually think Jacksonville, they pull this one off. Baltimore, they're going to get upset down in Jacksonville. I think that Jacksonville, after playing against Cleveland, they need to bounce back. This is a good Jags team, though. Trevor Lawrence, he did look pretty good. Sure, he threw the couple interceptions, but he looked more mobile than what I expected out of him, considering the injury, and I didn't think he was going to be a go. And it just so happened to be that day they said he was going to be a go, and he actually played well aside from those few mistakes. Did a lot of things with his legs, extending plays, and if he can do that against that Baltimore defense, I think he absolutely gives them a chance. Without Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram has really become a prime target for them at that tight end spot, and I think the way they're playing right now, they have a chance. And I think their run defense looked very good against Cleveland. It was just they got beat by the play action, really, when it came to the offense and Joe Flacco making things happen. So I think you, in this game, can stop the run, but we'll see how much Lamar Jackson can actually tear their defense apart. So I'm going with the Jags, 24-20. A good game for Jacksonville to extend their lead there. Really in the AFC helps get an AFC win as they continue to try to push towards being the top dog in the South.
See, I think the Browns beat Jacksonville with very little of a running game and also a banged up defense.
Mm-hmm.
Ravens are coming in completely healthy on defense and a far better running game this year than the Browns. So really banking on those two things.
Fair enough. So first two games were already split on both of those. Will it continue to trend on Monday Night Football? It's the bird teams, at least a couple of them, the Eagles and the Seahawks. And Philadelphia, they haven't looked all that great as of late. You and I both said with Dallas that Dallas had to beat the man in order to be the man, and they finally got it done. They were dominant against Philadelphia, and Jalen Hurts and that team they've struggled a little bit. They've gone on a little bit of a skid. Even when they're winning some games, they haven't been that impressive. But losing to the Niners big, losing to the Cowboys big, and pretty close to successive weeks, that hurts. And now they go on the road to Seattle, a place that's very loud. It's tough to play there on the road. I'm going to say that it's going to be a close ball game, but ultimately Philadelphia, I think they're still good enough to beat the Seahawks team that I think's good. They're in the playoff hunt, but it's a Seattle team that they're not going to do much if they get into the playoffs. They really can't get past probably Philadelphia, the 49ers, maybe even Detroit if their defense starts playing better. So I think that Philadelphia, they ultimately do still win this game 27-21, have a little bit of a bounce back, but not fully to the point of they look like a dominant team.
Philadelphia needs a good bounce back win. In Seattle would absolutely do that for them. I'm going to go with the Eagles as well. Also, Geno Smith is not 100% healthy.
Mm-hmm.
They had to go to Drew Lock again last week. Drew Lock's terrible. You know, you guys, it's no secret, I'm a Broncos fan, so I've had a first-class look at Drew Lock over the years, and there's really nothing there. So, all that being said, we talked about how weak the NFC is. You know, Green Bay's in the playoff picture with a losing record. The entire NFC South has a losing record. It's not a strong conference this year. It's very top-heavy with those top four teams. Again, that being said, Seattle's right there. They badly needed this win. I'm just not sure Philadelphia's coached so well. I don't see them losing 3 in a row. You know, I truly believe that they should be able to win this game and kind of right the ship moving forward, going with the Eagles.
So we're on the same page there, and we go to our upset picks. Vince, your official upset pick this week.
Well, I'm excited for this week. I actually have 3 upset picks, but for the sake of the show, I guess I'll only talk about one of them on air, and we can go from there. The one that I believe is going to be the biggest upset, maybe nobody sees it coming, and it kills me to make this pick. I think Pittsburgh bounces back and beats the Colts. The Colts use a lot of smoke and mirrors this season to get the winning record that they have. They're a heck of a lot better than I think a lot of us thought they were going to be. But at the end of the day, you know, this is a team that truly needs Jonathan Taylor. Zach Moss started off hot. Taylor came back. He lost his reps. He's starting to get them slowly back again with Taylor being out. There's just a lot of inconsistency there, right? So with that being the case, I feel like Pittsburgh's been embarrassed. They've been embarrassed soundly these last 2 weeks, losing to a 2-win team in the Cardinals, losing to a 2-win team in the Patriots. They need this win in the worst way. Gonna go with them, Pittsburgh.
Well, I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I'm going to stick with the Colts. I think the Colts actually have enough offensive firepower to get that one done. Passing the ball with Gardner Minshew. Sure, the Steelers might be able to slow down the run game, but I do think offensively, ultimately, the Colts, they're able to get that. I'm going to say this. My upset is the Houston Texans beating the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are favored in that game, really especially courtesy probably of their win against the Dolphins. And both teams tried to lose that game, and ultimately Tennessee, they came away with it in a game where Miami, they didn't perform well. But Houston, even if CJ Stroud is not playing and it's Davis Mills, I think they're a better team than Tennessee this year. And I don't think this Tennessee team's good enough to win back-to-back games. So ultimately, I think this Houston team, they at least bounce back a little bit after their loss to the Jets. Will it offensively with Davis Mills look like it has with CJ Stroud? No. And without Tank Dell, that's a really talented wide receiver that they've lost for the year. But I think their defense had certainly improved this season. I think they're going to be able to get some necessary stops. And ultimately, Noah Brown, Robert Woods, if Nico Collins is a go, you have at least enough receivers, I think, to get the ball to distribute that around. Dalton Schultz at tight end. So in the end, I do think Houston, they take this game 23-16 and strongly keep themselves in playoff contention.
I feel like if Nico Collins was playing, that would be enough. Davis Mills, he's been there a couple years as a starting quarterback. He knows the system. Clearly, it's a little different with CJ Stroud. But even with that being said, I just feel like the combination of Stroud and Collins and Tank Dell, all three of them, just too big of a loss this particular week. Going to roll the dice here, even though they're the favorite, which is mind-boggling. But I actually went with Tennessee.
So, final game for us this week on this shortened episode. It's the Browns hosting the Chicago Bears. And if you have not heard, bet with Brandon Soder. Again, I'm going to plug that again. You need to go take a listen to that. I got to be a part of that show earlier this week, and that is up on the YouTube channel as well as Spotify as well. You can search Bet with Brandon Soder and also find that on Spotify. So, like I said, make sure you go listen to that one. I had the privilege of being the guest. Brandon runs a great show there. Excited to see what he's going to do, with that podcast for each and every single episode, throughout really at least the time of that show. And so we'll see how long that runs for him. I hope it's a show that goes for a long time. I think it's a good idea. And like I said, Brandon puts together a good show there. But that's why I'm not going to dive into this too much. I'm going to say go listen to that because you can hear my prediction there. I went with the Browns. I took the Browns winning this one 20-13, a defensive slugfest. The Browns, they've been depleted by injuries. The Bears, they're one of the healthier teams in the NFL, but even though their defense has statistically become like a top 5 defense in the last couple of weeks due to Montez Sweat, the addition from him from the Commanders, as well as the young guys they have on the back end in the secondary. I think ultimately, though, that Browns team, they have enough to at home have the motivation to go out there, perform defensively. And I think Flacco and the boys, they still do enough to get the job done and beat Chicago, a Chicago team that's had a little bit of a surge in the last few weeks.
Wish I could say more about this game, but honestly, I'm going to direct everybody back to the Bet podcast with Brandon Soder-Penner. As Cole mentioned, I think you guys did a terrific, terrific job. Don't normally do this, but I'm actually going to segue right back to that podcast. Guys, I too picked the Browns. I'll keep my reason short and sweet. I feel like they have the better defense. I do feel like it's going to have the over, though. I think we're going to see more points than we expect this weekend. I know both you guys did pick the under, but I actually see it going the over. That being said, Chicago, to me, looking long-term on this, though, I want to throw this out there. You talked about it on Brandon's podcast, and I couldn't agree more. They need to stick with Justin Fields. No matter what happens these next 4 weeks, maybe you need a different head coach, maybe you need a different play caller. I don't know what the situation is in Chicago. I'm not there every day to see what goes on behind the scenes, but I do know talent when I see it. And there's no reason the Bears can't have the exact kind of success that Houston is having with CJ Stroud. That is a very similar quarterback. Coming out of the same college, coming out of a lot of the same programs, a lot of the same systems. Is Stroud better at this point? Yeah, it's crazy to say that 10 games into a career. But still, I would not, excuse me, I would not throw away Justin Fields if I was Chicago. I wouldn't even mess around with it. You're going to have a top 5 pick, like Brandon said, and Cole on their podcast. It's all their offensive line heavy this year in the draft. They could get a tackle, they could get a guard, whatever the case may be. Some good running backs out there as well. You have weapons you could put around this guy. You got protection you could build with him, for him. Bears need to go ahead. They need to stay with Fields. That being said, the Browns are just a different team at home. You saw it firsthand this past weekend. Whatever it is defensively, scheme right. I think they're going to get a lot more holding calls on Myles Garrett this week. Just a hunch. I think you're going to see a little bit of that after his comments this week. And I agree with the guy. You know, nobody's harder on Myles Garrett than me. I cannot stand how often he jumps off sides. But it is what it is, guys. He gets held on every single play. And it's not even a holding. A lot of times it's egregious. Hands up his face mask being yanked, collar being yanked, dangerous stuff. So hopefully the referees got the memo. Hopefully he could run wild this weekend. We will see. Going to make this last point. The Browns this season on defense have struggled against mobile quarterbacks. They just have. With the exception of Matthew Stafford, you know, he beat them. I get it. But even Russell Wilson was able to move around on them pretty good. So they need to figure out that RPO. Don't let Justin Fields run wild. I'll say it again. If they can do that, this should be a pretty easy win for them. So that being said, I'll make one last point for the Browns. I said it last week. Oh, excuse me. I'll follow it up again. The 2 times they beat Jacksonville in the regular season, 2 of the times they went on to the playoffs. 02 and 03, and then 2020 they beat Jacksonville. So this is now 2 different times where they beat Jacksonville in December in the middle of a playoff run, and then eventually made the playoffs. I think the Browns are going to make it 3 for 3 by a landslide. My Denver Broncos sitting there at 7-6. You crazy fools! What are you doing? Keeping my hopes alive. As much as I didn't like losing those games to Cole, it was pretty sweet to see that one go down. Just going to throw this out here this week for everybody wondering. No, I did not roll the dice. I definitely went with the Detroit Lions. But tell you what, man, if Denver wins by some fluke of a miracle and goes to 8-6, the same record the Browns have, holding a tie. No, they wouldn't have the same record as the Browns, but regardless, they'd be squarely right in that AFC wild card playoff hunt. So just want to throw that out there and put that into the universe. Went with the Lions, though, officially.
Yeah, I went with the Lions as well. I don't expect Denver to win in this game, although I took Denver last week and it panned out. So I will take it in the time being. So, yeah, that really does it for us here. Again, thanks to Vince for being a trooper here. We powered through on this episode, and hopefully we appeared young and spry and healthy here in this episode. Again, hopefully, we're both feeling almost 100%, if not 100%, come week 16. And of course, make sure you tune in next week for that episode. Again, maybe a little bit longer that time. But Vince, any final thoughts before we go?
I enjoy a Saturday football. I'm excited for it. 'Tis a season. You can't see it behind me, but if I move, the Barbie Dream House is definitely behind me. I think you guys can see it from that angle. So regardless, it's the season. Christmas tree is up. Barbie Dream House is down to my office, and away we go.
Well, we get Saturday football, as Vince mentioned, 3 games on Saturday because college football, we have that break between the bowl games. So, yeah, you certainly have your fix of NFL up and coming. So for myself, Cole McDaniel, Vince McKee, that's going to do it for us. Signing off after another episode of the Climate Tech Inc. NFL Prediction Show.
Climate Tech is a full-service company. We install as well as service both residential and commercial products. We service furnaces, air conditioners, heat pumps, boilers, mini split systems, tankless hot water. We've got a good group of technicians that have been developed into a company culture that delivers a good degree of confidence to the customer and gives us a good product output. They want to take care of the customer. and make sure that the customer is satisfied with their service. And when you've got non-stressed employees at your home, you're going to get a greater result from that service call or from that installation.
Our customer needs, comfort, and health are of utmost importance, and we strive to provide that to every customer within their budget. As we continue to grow, we remain focused on maintaining our high level of customer satisfaction.
When you hire Climatech, you're hiring a whole team of experts that have been in the business well over 80 years. If you're looking for a new install, if you're looking for just maintenance on your equipment, we are the company of your choice.